Hey, I'm Bob Waliszewski with Focus on the Family's Media Discernment Team, Plugged In. Back on March 31st, 2017, Netflix released the show 13 Reasons Why. It's centered around Hannah Baker, a fictional teen girl who on a series of cassette tapes blamed her so-called friends for what she was about to do, take her own life, which she did in the gruesome final episode of Season 1. Although the suicide itself wasn't glamorized, the imagined revenge associated with Hannah's death was. And now many people are left wondering if this show could become a roadmap for vulnerable teenagers. While writing a book on media discernment, I found scores of studies linking numerous negative human behaviors to entertainment. For instance, researchers believe that kids who see characters smoke on screen are much more likely to light up in real life. Other studies link on-screen sexual activities with actual sexual behaviors. But what about suicides? Is it possible that a show like 13 Reasons Why that depicts a graphic suicide could somehow lead someone to actually taking their own life? I think so. And you'll understand after you hear my conversation with Patrice Bright, the mother of Anna Bright, a girl who took her own life, an act that Patrice believes was highly influenced by the show. By the way, Patrice feels Anna's suicide is not an isolated incident. The suicides of at least 5 people, by my count, can be linked to 13 Reasons Why. But after talking with Patrice, I believe the number may be much higher. So now let's listen to that interview with Patrice Bright. The first question is about Anna's suicide. Tell me what happened on April 18th, 2017.
We got up like any normal day, and, it was a little bit different than normal. With Anna, at least, she was up by the time that Joseph went to wake her up, and she was pacing the hall. She had had what she described as a bad dream, and so I took Anna to school, and when we got in the car, we did what we always did on the way to school. I would always pray for God's hedge of protection over our family by name, each and every one of our individual members of our family. And Anna heard that prayer many, many times, and hundreds of times, I would even say, over the course of her lifetime. And she told me about her dream. She wanted to talk about that. We always had our best deep conversations on the way to school, and we had talked about suicide before. She had asked me the question, Mama, do Christians who commit suicide go to heaven? And, that was a deep conversation that we had, and I didn't realize that she might have been, considering this for herself, or maybe she was just wanting information. I'm really not sure, but we were very close. So I dropped her off at school. I told her, bye, I love you. I hope that you have a great day and do your best. That was what I always told my children when I would drop them off at school, and that was the last time that I saw her alive. Well, it was a different day in that I had left my cell phone at home, and so I had asked Joseph to text Anna to let her know to call me on my work phone, because she would call me when she got off of the bus, because she had a good long walk to our actual house in the neighborhood. And she did call me that day, and we talked. Other than maybe being a little quieter than usual, there wasn't really anything that was unusual that I could put my finger on. So we talked about her homework and the things that she had going on in her life. And she got to the house, and I had her to look for my phone, and I had left it in the bathroom on the countertop, and she told me that's where it was. And she got off of the phone, though, and the last thing that we said to each other in this world was, I love you, I'll see you in a little while. My husband got home a little after 5 o'clock, and he didn't always see Anna when he got home. He would get our dog from the kitchen where he stayed, and he would take him for a walk, and so she might be in her room with her earbuds on or, doing homework or whatever. So he didn't think it was unusual that he didn't see her when he came in that day. So he told my son to get ready for baseball practice and change his clothes, and then he took the dog for a walk. Well, my son had bought Anna a little fidget spinner because he had a collection started and he wanted her to have one as well. He was trying to find her to take it to her, and finally he came to our bathroom door, and the door was shut. He started calling for her, and she never responded. And so eventually he opened the door, and he was the first one to find her. And so he ran out to tell my husband. He said, I don't know what's wrong with Anna, but she's dead. So my husband sent her a text at 5:17 that day and asked, are you okay? And of course he never got a response. So he came into the house and he saw her too. She was clothed, but she was in the bathtub, just like in 13 Reasons Why. I mean, her method was a little bit different, and I won't go into detail with that, but she clearly had taken 13 Reasons Why as a how-to to form her own suicide. And we didn't really know that until the police officers were talking with us. I remember that it was 6:17 when I drove into the neighborhood, so exactly an hour after Joseph had sent that text to Anna. And I saw that the whole neighborhood was flooded with first responders, and I didn't know what was going on, and they asked me to pull over. And I knew that it was our house that they were at, and I just couldn't understand, what was going on. But I saw my husband come across the yard. He had a fireman under each arm, almost carrying him across the yard. And he yelled out to me, Anna's dead. Somebody killed her. And I just stumbled around the car and fell to my knees. It was like the whole world was ripped out from under me. It was a little while later before we learned that she wasn't actually murdered, that she had done it herself. And the police officer said, she did this. And it was just unimaginable to us because of how Anna was and how our family was. And we're the family that prayed together. We're the family that loved each other and supported each other through everything that we went through, that our kids were participating in. We were always there. We were very present. We checked her phone. We were, to all standards, a close family. And so this was something evidently that Anna was experiencing or going through that she just didn't share with anybody, not even her closest friends.
Was she bullied, teased, or depressed? Did you find out later?
She was a cheerleader, and there was a lot of exclusion that went on, and there was a lot of making fun of, too. Anna was, she was very talented, very beautiful, and she just had such a bright future ahead of her. And a lot of girls were jealous of different things, of her writing, her musical skills. She also drew. And so I saw some text, from different girls, and I asked her, I said, do you want me to talk to some of these moms? Because I know that they would not want you to be treated this way, but they would not want their children to be acting this way. And she was always like, no, please don't do that. And I was like, do you need me to go to the school and talk to somebody? And she was like, no, please don't do that. And so she was always very adamant about handling her situations herself. And as far as depression, the only things that I noticed prior to her death were just that she was a little withdrawn, and her self-esteem was very low. She had a very hard time accepting a compliment. But I talked with my friends that had teenage daughters, and every single one of them said, that's normal.
Yeah.
She doesn't fit the mold of what mental health experts describe as a depressed teenager. So, every situation looks different, and we have analyzed this to death over the past year.
Were you aware of 13 Reasons Why before Anna's death?
Well, we pulled the Netflix records after she passed away, and she had actually watched the first episode when we came back home from Disney World on spring break, March the 31st, which was the day that it came out. And then the next day, April 1st, she watched the next 12 episodes different times throughout the day, but she was able to accomplish that on her phone. And I don't know if she just clicked on other things inside the Netflix app, so that we wouldn't see that she had watched it or what, but she didn't mention it till the weekend before her death, and we did not know that she had already watched the entire series before that.
Some people would argue that the show is more of a cautionary tale that'll help deter kids from taking their own lives. Selena Gomez, for instance, I'm sure you know, is involved as producer, executive producer for that reason. But what do you say?
Well, obviously, it affected my daughter to the point where she took her own life. And so one life lost is too many. And Netflix is responsible for if nothing else, for introducing an idea. The main thing that we were just completely flabbergasted by was the fact that my daughter knew how to fill a tub with water and get in it to take her life. That was exactly what the main character did in 13 Reasons Why. Mm-hmm. And many of these other, what they call copycat suicides, they're copied for a reason, because the idea was introduced by the show. And it's just dangerous. Any idea that's going to cause death like that, even just one person, but there have been so many more, it's too much. It shouldn't be accessible.
And last question, Patrice, and again, thank you for doing this. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Sure. From our experience, as born-again Christians, having to go through something like this, it calls you to question everything about your life as a parent, as just a human being. My husband had been in the ministry for lots of years, and he had actually just resigned the ministry because our church was about an hour away, and he wanted us to be closer to home so that we could be serving in our community and have the kids in a youth group. And so we were working toward that. I think our view of God's favor has changed dramatically. And scriptures that we read before, mean something different to us now, in that in Isaiah, where it tells us that, when you pass through the fire, when you go through the waters, that he'll not let it overtake us and that he'll be there with us. And so I think we see favor now is not taking away these bad things that happen, because we do live in a fallen world and each person is given free will. And I think that it just means that he's there with us through everything that we experience in this life. And we have felt his presence more than ever before after this experience. Now, do we have questions? Yes, like, why did this happen? Or why did God allow this, when we pray for his hedge of protection? But I have to believe that there is a purpose for this pain. And so I would say to anybody in pain, in mental anguish, you're not alone, first of all, and that there's somebody that you can talk to. But I would also say to people that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and that we affect people with what we say. And so I would encourage our listeners to choose life, and to choose to speak life to each and every individual each day and to live our life with purpose. And that comes first by knowing Christ as our Savior. He loves us so much, and we're of infinite worth to Him. I don't even think we can fathom the love that He has for us, and He wants us to fulfill that purpose that we have in our lives. And so I would encourage each individual to seek help, because the resources are out there, and just to choose life.
I'm sure, like me, your heart goes out to Patrice, her husband, and their son, who every day of their lives have to deal with Anna's suicide. Teen suicide is a terrible and growing issue in the United States, and for many families, it's become a tragedy beyond comprehension. Whatever Netflix's motives might have been for bringing 13 Reasons Why to the screen, many cultural observers like me, many mental health experts, and especially grieving parents believe the show was a factor in promising young lives being cut short. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicide, there are resources to help, including Focus on the Family's very own Alive to Thrive program. Just go to AliveToThrive.com. Again, that's AliveToThrive.com. Hey, thanks for listening, and be sure to be praying for the Bright family. Again, I'm Bob Waliszewski for Focus on the Family's Plugged In.